We are continuing to follow all the latest developments on the Germanwings crash in France.
Earlier today, we spoke with Ken Maxwell, former Vice President of Security for JetBlue Airlines and a former FBI agent, about the crash and the role the FBI will play in the investigation.
Now that it has been determined to be a criminal act by the French authorities, the FBI will provide whatever assistance and resources, agents, equipment, whatever, to help them unravel this puzzle. And the big puzzle being, why did a trusted pilot with apparently no adverse history drive a plane into the side of a mountain? What motivated him? Yeah.
So now we have information on this co-pilot, Andreas Lubitz, this German co-pilot who studied and trained here in the U.S. What happens now? What do authorities do? What are they looking at about his life for clues?
Oh, just about everything. So as we're talking, and even as soon as they came up with this determination, there is no question that a complete, what they would call vertical investigation from top to bottom on Mr. Lubitz, his background, his relationships, his financial condition. What was the motivation here? They'll be pulling all kinds of digital data, social media, etc., but also whether by lawful authority through search warrant or consensual, conducting searches of his residence, of his vehicles, interviewing hosts of associates, friends, family, to try to put together all of the information that hopefully will lead to the answer why this awful tragedy happened.
Now, you were an FBI agent working counterterrorism here in New York City during September 11th,
yeah.
And then the subsequent year went to go work for JetBlue. I imagine that was a period of great discussion about protocols, safety for airlines. Do you think that this incident is going to spark a similar conversation in the U.S., or is it just such a rare anomaly that those conversations wouldn't happen at a high level?
Well, as anomalous as it is, there will be those kinds of conversations. We always learn from these awful tragedies, and what can we fine-tune? When I say we, the law enforcement community, the aviation community, the review of a pilot's well-being, physical and mental. I'm sure that all of the carriers, because people forget that Lufthansa, which is a great airline, by the way, with a tremendous safety record, they're hurting too. They're victims in this as well. That they will obviously look at their procedures going forward, but every carrier will, and be offering their assistance to Lufthansa as well to make that review happen. And that's what happens. The airline industry, the airline community is a very close-knit community. And despite the competitive aspects of a business, cooperate very, very closely when tragedies happen.
So let's talk about procedures going forward and possible changes. You were there after 9/11 when this rule was instated in the U.S. that 2 pilots need to be in the cockpit at all time. That is not the case in Europe. That is not the law there, and that's why one was able to leave and the other one was able to lock him out, as far as we know. So what kind of changes do you see happening?
Well, I'm certain that the German authorities will be looking at that. You know, you have to have 2 people, not necessarily 2 pilots. And as the procedure is mandated by regulation here in the United States for U.S. carriers and domestic flights in particular, if a pilot wants to leave the cockpit to use the lavatory, it must be substituted by a flight attendant so that there's a second human being in there. And that rule is not just to enhance security, but also safety. Should the pilot that remains, co-pilot or pilot, become incapacitated in some way, heart attack, stroke, etc., so that there's someone there to sound the alarm immediately. And in worst case scenario, in this instance, if there was someone up front, it would have maybe been a mitigating factor in deciding making him decide rather not to do this, or the worst case scenario, that flight attendant could use some force and get involved with that. So it's a great policy that was promulgated or created and promulgated after 9/11, and my sense is that will be revisited by those carriers that don't use that policy.
Fair enough.
Safety concerns will continue to be paramount. Ken Maxwell, thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you.